Welcome to the Daily Pulse for August 17th, 2026. This covers the articles followed on this date, a curated selection, not a comprehensive record of everything that happened. How many stories fall under any one theme reflects what was followed, not how common it is in the world. Society operates on the assumption that laws govern institutions, but today's reporting reveals a global pattern of those exact institutions actively bypassing their own guardrails. In Canada, the Office of the Auditor General released a hard audit documenting that federal agencies completely disregarded existing procurement safeguards, bypassing rules to award $209 million in contracts to the consulting firm McKinsey. The mechanism is identical across borders. The investigative outlet Connectus reports that Mexican health institutions paid $20 million to shell companies for hospital supplies that never arrived. The oversight failures severely degraded actual hospital services. This circumvention extends directly into civil liberties. Canada's Privacy Commissioner found that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police violated federal privacy law by deploying Clearview AI's facial recognition software without adequate controls. A Crikey investigation shows this as a coordinated pattern. The Australian Federal Police allegedly continued benefiting from Clearview AI analysis through an international partner, even after publicly claiming they had cut ties with the company. At the same time, state biometric surveillance aggressively expands through legal channels. Revista Mercado reports that Brazil renewed a 13.4 million real contract with NEC to deploy facial recognition screening across 28 customs locations. The endpoint of state infrastructure operating without restraint is unchecked violence. The Canary reports on extremist Israeli state violence, focusing on Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir's specific demand to massacre 30 to 40 Palestinians a day via nightly Gaza strikes. These instances represent an active choice to turn public institutions into tools for private extraction and power. A published case study on the Swazi secrets leak details how family rule corruption in Eswatini operates on this exact mechanism of utilizing state apparatus for private gain. If power cannot bypass the rules in the shadows, it captures the regulatory institutions instead. This chart compares current national health spending and mortality rates against projected single-payer models. A study published in medRxiv by Yale and University of Maryland researchers proves a single-payer healthcare system would avert over 114,000 deaths a year and cut national health spending by 19.7%. Despite that empirical data, Newsweek reports that Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries rejected a Medicare for All proposal. A published thread maps how pharma and insurer dark money floods Democratic primaries to influence these exact positions and deter stronger federal guarantees. Institutional capture fuels severe economic inequality. In Common Dreams, former Labor Secretary Robert Reich published an open letter rebutting investor Scott Bessent, noting that in today's K-shaped economy, the richest 10% now drive 49.7% of all U.S. consumer spending. Security policies are regularly shaped by economics. Foreign Affairs argues that a blanket exclusion of Chinese tech investments costs the U.S. more than it protects, proposing a policy of selective openness. There's rising institutional alarm over tech valuations. Deutsche Welle reports the CEO of Norway's sovereign wealth fund is warning of an AI-driven stock market bubble. Stress tests estimate a potential 18% hit, or roughly 432 billion euros. Tech corporations actively preempt local laws. A mapped thread shows corporate-funded groups flying U.S. congressional staffers on access trips to push a federal AI bill that threatens to freeze state-level safety protections. Punchbowl News reports the Treasury Department is advancing rulemaking on the Genius Act. In the New York Times, economist Barry Eichengreen warns this stablecoin proliferation replicates the chaotic free banking era and risks bailouts of Trump-linked issuers like World Liberty Financial. Fossil fuel companies rely on captured institutions for protection. The climate accountability outlet Dismog reports that Big Oil and the conservative legislative group ALEC are relying on the conservative U.S. Supreme Court to block state climate damage lawsuits. The evidence driving those blocked lawsuits is substantial. Dismog published the Lovelock Papers, revealing Shell received direct climate warnings decades ago. Those papers are now central to a damages lawsuit regarding Typhoon Rai. Dismog's investigations track the dark money defending this extraction. The ARC London conference was funded by fossil fuel interests and Trump donors, where Chris Wright minimized heat risks. Hedge fund manager Paul Marshall sharply increased fossil fuel investments while facing accusations of using GB News to serve those interests. A Reform UK advisor suffered a climate-destroyed harvest that contradicts his party's anti-net zero stance. And Rupert Lowe's online child safety investment directly clashes with his alliance with Elon Musk and his opposition to online safety regulation. Regardless of the sector, healthcare, artificial intelligence, or climate, institutions consistently align their policies with private corporate extraction. To justify bypassing democratic laws, these actors rely on transnational ideological networks for political cover. South Korea illustrates this precisely. Jacobin reports that following a failed martial law attempt and his subsequent arrest, conservative forces mobilized to support President Yoon Suk-yeol, using anti-arrest protests and election fraud claims. Religious organizing fuses with this political mobilization. The Korea Herald profiles far-right pastor John Kwang-hoon, whose pro-Yoon activism drew police scrutiny after a courthouse riot. Christianity Today notes evangelicals split their support between candidates by fusing anti-communist fears with MAGA-style fraud narratives. This domestic crisis is exported internationally for validation. Korea Pro and the Washington Times report that pro-Yoon conservatives used the Conservative Political Action Conference network to seek U.S. support for his release. CPAC actively participates in this framing. A CPAC DC breakout session framed the Korean crisis through Chinese influence narratives. The New Institute Hawaii recounted a 2019 Seoul CPAC event built entirely on election fraud claims, linking the recent Seoul courthouse riot to decades of transnational infrastructure. Donald Trump serves as the primary connective node bridging the Korean CPAC cluster, crypto legislation, and state messaging. However, the New Republic reports his recent angry tirade over gas prices and dismissal of military family concerns backfired as a politically damaging self-own. His administration's tactics endure in the bureaucracy. The Guardian reports a Trump-era State Department Cuba report uses foreign subversion framing specifically to attack U.S. left-wing activists. This forms a systemic state targeting playbook. Published threads trace how governments use prosecution and surveillance logic to target journalists and Palestine donors, and how AIPAC-linked super PACs utilize dark money to deter left Democrats like Aisha Wahab in California runoffs. Whether examining a Canadian procurement audit, a climate lawsuit against Shell, or a courthouse riot in Seoul, the connective tissue is identical. Elite networks and institutions refuse to play by the rules designed to restrain them. When the laws written to protect the public are actively circumvented by the institutions meant to enforce them, what mechanisms of accountability actually remain? The source articles for today's report are linked in the video description.